Hey, welcome back to the Pen Hut. Just wanted to do a quick video today, just a real simple overview on a few different filling systems for pens. We'll start with something contemporary. So this is my Sailor 1911 large. So this filling system is, like I said, a more contemporary. They had a bunch of other ones in the past. I think they still do vacuumatics and things like that, plunge fillers, things like that. But this is the most common nowadays. This is called a cartridge converter. The reason it says cartridge is because this little unit here can get pulled out and replaced. The cartridge converter, this one right here, you probably don't want to replace unless it gets damaged or something like that. But you can see there's ink in there, and right here in the middle, it's really dark. You can see the ink in there. And then what you would do is you would turn the knob here to suck up the ink through the breather hole there on the nib. And then it would fill up right there, which is nice and convenient. And it's usually the preference for most people on contemporary pens is what they prefer doing, because that way you can use bottled ink and pretty much any fountain pen bottled ink. Any color you want, any variety you want, you can just put it right in the pen and you're good to go. There are a bunch of different ones, depends on if they're proprietary for the brand of the pen. And then there's also standard international sizes. Usually there's some small ones. I know there's a Con 20, I think there's a Con 50 and a Con 70, something like that. But like I said, there's a variety. So you want to make sure that your pen brand doesn't use a proprietary one, because if you do get an international standard one, it might not work. So always read up on that first. A lot of these kind of pens or pens over the $100 range most likely come with them included, so you don't have to go track one down. The difference between the cartridge converter and an actual cartridge, don't think I have any cartridges around me, but the cartridge basically looks like a little plastic tube that's pre-filled. And that's what a cartridge looks like, just a little plastic tube. And you use that, and then when it runs out, you either chuck it or you can use a bottle syringe to refill it. But to me, that's kind of a lot of work. Like I said, if it doesn't come with the cartridge converter, I highly recommend buying one. Lamy and other companies do use their own proprietary. You do have to buy it separately because it doesn't come with the pen. But they're not super expensive. They're under $10. Definitely great to have. So that's the most common that you'll see nowadays, is either a cartridge on a slightly lower pen and price, or you'll get a cartridge converter, kind of like that one. Sorry, getting some allergies, I think. So that's a really common one. The Platinum 3776 would also come with one. Some of these do come with cartridges in the box if you buy them brand new, so it gives you both options, which is fine. One thing to note, of course, is with cartridges, you're basically at the mercy of whatever colors they offer. There are some brands that in cartridges they only carry like 4 colors and that's it. Some will carry like 30, but there are so many different inks out there all over the world, manufacturers from everywhere that you can try, so why wouldn't you, right? So definitely keep an eye out, try to get something with a cartridge converter or find out where you can get one. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% like I need to get a cartridge converter per se, but if you don't get one of those and you're fine with that, get a pen that takes international cartridges, because the international cartridges give you a lot more colors, a lot more options, and to me that's fine. You know, there's some pens that maybe you just want to use a cartridge, you don't want to mess around with buying all sorts of other inks, and you're like, for me, I have probably 4 different colors that I bought specifically in cartridges, and now I'm like, well, I need to make sure that I use them, so I need to have pens that will take those. So it's good to have a variety. You know, don't get stuck on one thing. You know, try a variety, and there's nothing wrong with having cartridges. Or yeah, so use what you like. So that's very common there. Now I'm going to go a little bit more vintage. So this one is a Parker 51. These were around for a while. They were huge in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're highly collectible nowadays. But these are cool because they come in, you know, very, very basic, I guess, styling, or, you know, just like a little torpedo. I'm going to open this one up, and this is the aerometric. They do come in different filling styles. This is the one I prefer. It's a little bit easier to maintain, a little easier to fiddle with. So this is an aerometric. So basically you can see there's like a little clear or semi-clear sack in there. And then what you would do is you would press this bar here to squeeze the air out. And then as you let go, the air is going to squeeze it in through the nib here, through this nib area here. And that's how you kind of fill it in. So these, actually this is a pretty good version that you have the bar basically going all the way across the cartridge, so or sack, because then you really get a good squeeze. And on these, on real ones, of course, they will have writing over here, which actually tells you how to use it or what to do. So that's cool. So those are the ones that I like. They do make vacuumatics, but those are a little bit different. And actually, we're going to go over that next. So here we go. So the next pen is going to be another very popular vintage pen, and that is the Parker Vacuumatic. So this was a neat system that they were using. Let's see. And the reason this was a neat system at the time is that the Vacuumatic sucks in air into the barrel, so it actually gives you the ability to put a lot more ink into the pen. Instead of like the little sack on the Parker 51, this would actually give you a lot more storage space here. So let me open this up. This one's a little squeaky, but it's okay. And it has this little plunger looking thing. And basically what you do is you push it in and then release. Push it in, release. You usually do it a couple times, and it should give you a pretty good fill. These are very convenient. Not only does it give you a lot of space, and actually this pen, I don't think you can see it there, but you can see through it, so you can see if how much ink you have in there. This was a great system, and it was very innovative at the time. The trouble with these is if they start malfunctioning or you need to service them somehow, there's a lot of moving parts in here that make it really tricky. Cleaning it's not too bad. It is more difficult than the other forms there to clean, so you do have to be a little bit more patient and rinse them out a little bit more, but they're nice. You know, they work really well. I believe Edison pens and a few other more modern companies have been able to replicate this kind of system in a slightly more reliable fashion. But yeah, you do have to be careful doing that too much or doing it really harshly, because you can damage the insides there. And of course, there were other brands at the time that developed the same type of technology into their pens. But this is an iconic, very iconic pen out of Parker, the Parker Vacuumatic. Now, the system before those two systems there is this one here, and this is a Esterbrook J, I believe. And this uses a different system, which is very common. So actually, I'm going to show it to you here. That if you ever look for a pen at flea markets and other places, and you see this little knob thing here, that's a lever. So this is considered the lever system. So how this one differs is that this actually has a sack in here, like a long tube sack. So you can't pull these apart easily, and you don't want to pull them apart easily. Only if and when you're servicing the pen, or you're trying to, service it, I guess. So usually they don't come off easy at all. You have to take pliers or something and gently pull it apart. Anyway, so there's a long tube sack going all the way across here, and then you have this piece here. So what you would do to fill it is you take your fingernail, grab that piece there, and I'm going to move my hand so you can see. and then you're going to pull this up, usually about 90 degrees. It kind of doesn't pull on you too much, and then you can flip it all the way around if you wanted to. So what it does in this, oh, and there's a bar that goes across here that kind of squishes it. And depending on the generation, sometimes it's the bar itself, and sometimes there's a separate bar that's actually pushing it. So some of these are more efficient than others, but basically right now you're squeezing the sack that's in there, and then when you close it all the way, it's releasing the pressure. So it's basically like you're squeezing and releasing to get the air and the ink drawn in. So with these, you have to be very careful, of course, because it's very easy to break that if you're, really rough with it. The second thing is when you're buying something vintage, or at a pen show or at a flea market or whatever, always make sure to test that out. Ask for permission and just say, hey, I just want to make sure that this thing works fine. And you'll grab that little piece and you'll pull it up and see if there's any give. Like, don't force it, do it lightly. If you start hearing cracking or anything funny, there are some of these that were used with ink in them and they were never cleaned and they were just kind of thrown in the drawer. The whole sack in the middle is probably not in good shape and completely solidified, which is not good, but it's not a problem. If that's the only problem and this lever is still working fine and there's no wiggle, there's nothing going on, you might be fine, but you need to take this whole piece apart and re-sack it. So if you don't know how to do that, either find out how to do it or find somebody who knows how to, or just skip it altogether unless it's a really unique piece. It's not very difficult to do. Oh, sorry, allergies. But yeah, so those are the basic ones I wanted to talk about. Like I said, there are other ones. Schaefer has the snorkel, which is really cool. I don't own a snorkel yet. I will at some point because they are really fancy. I think the PFM is probably the one that I want to get as opposed to the Schaefer snorkel, and uses a similar technology where it actually, from underneath the nib in the section, it pulls out this little straw looking unit thing, which sucks in the ink. When working properly and if it's serviced and all that good stuff, it's actually a very clean way of putting ink into your pen, where you're not going to get ink on your fingers because it's going to be pulled up right through the little straw piece thing, which is really cool. So those are just some basic ones. I know I didn't really go into a lot of detail, but just so you guys can kind of differentiate or what to look for. So if you don't know what you're looking at, if you're just looking at pens in general, ask the person, hey, what's the filling mechanism for this? Or, hey, can I unscrew this? Is that okay? And you can look in. The last one that I want to mention, that is actually very common nowadays too, is a eye drop filler. It's not really a mechanism. It basically just means that the bottom part of the pen is basically sealed, and you can just fill it straight up. To be able to do something like that, it can't have any metal on it because that will corrode. So it'd have to be kind of like a plastic bottom, and you'd have to have some sort of sealant so it doesn't leak. A lot of pens that are plastic or all plastic have that ability, but you want to just make sure that you can. Trying to think. I'd say something kind of like a platinum preppy. I think we can take the inside out and seal that. A lot of the demonstrators, because you can see everything inside, make it easier to do something like that. There's a few other pens, but you always gotta check, gotta ask questions, because you don't want somebody handing you a pen and you're going, oh, let me go look, and then you just pour all the ink out. So always ask questions, and if it's one of your pens, try to remember or write it down somewhere that that's what you did, so you don't accidentally spill all over yourself. But yeah, those are the basic ones. And like I said, there's a few other variations out there. Just wanted to give you a really quick look. And like I said, I don't think I have any cartridges here with me, but like I said, they're just small little cylinder tubes that you just plug right into the feed there on the pen. And they're all different sizes, the feeds, so you want to make sure you pick the right ones. But those are the easiest when you're starting out. They'll come in the box, like with a Lamy Safari, Metropolitan, things like that. A lot of those will come with little cartridges, so I would recommend start there, plug them in, and if you don't like the color and you want to get a cartridge converter and get other inks that you prefer, then do that. But it's easy, not messy. You pull it out, throw it away, and you're done. But yeah, so hopefully that was informative. And if you have any questions, put them down below. Let me know which is your favorite filling mechanism or filling system. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.